You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Well, good morning. Good morning.
Ooh, two this week.
Talk the whole night through. Good morning.
Wow.
Good morning to you.
Do.
Nothing would be grander than living in Louisiana. Whatever. I can't say it. I can never say it. I just need to leave that part out.
But you love it.
You know, it's halfway through the song anyway. It's not even in the first verse.
That's right.
Hey, well, good morning, everybody. And we hope that you're having a wonderful day. And we hope that reading God's word will maybe set you up to even have a better day.
Yes.
How about that?
That's great. I believe it will.
Yes. And we have a segment today. We have a segment today, and the segment is called Mailbags. Mailbags. Today's segment is written in from a guy named Tom K.
Hi, Tom.
But it's not K-A-Y. It's K.
Just K.
The letter K.
The letter
initial
K.
Dot. Don't know who that is.
Right.
I know a Tom Koloski, but he's from Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah.
I doubt he's listening.
Hi, Tom.
Here's what Tom says. What is one achievement you feel most proud of, something that stands out as a significant milestone in your journey or personal growth? It can be an experience where you overcame a challenge or made a meaningful impact or reached a goal that holds deep value to you.
Wow.
So a wide range,
Yes.
right? It could be meaningful, like significant, or it could be something like just a personal goal, or it could be just like a challenge that we personally overcame.
Yeah.
So that's a wide
I mean, our
range.
achievements are so vast
Oh,
and so numerous.
not all the volumes of the books of the world.
Right.
Could hold-
So it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult
Oh, wait, that was Jesus.
that's right.
Yeah, that was Jesus. That's what John said.
It's difficult to identify just one.
No?
Perhaps, setting the goal to be the humblest person we know.
Have you ever seen the
Right.
movie The Bucket List?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did, really?
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, where they had a bucket list of all these incredible
Morgan
things.
Freeman and Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a bucket list because of that movie.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. You did. I've told you about my bucket list
I know
before.
that, but I didn't know it was because
it's
of that
because of that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Anyway,
I'm ticking them off.
so I have, let me share, it sounds frivolous, but it actually was rooted in a personal achievement.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, and still do, have an incredible fear of heights. I don't like heights. I have a hard time. You know that bridge in Michigan, northern Michigan, where you walk and it has a glass. It has a glass bottom.
Yeah.
I just did that, and it's not even that scary, right? And it's super wide. It's super strong, and I just did it with my family this summer, and I had the hardest time walking over that glass.
Wow.
Bridge.
Yeah.
I was almost paralyzed, right? So it just comes and goes. So because of that, I just was so tired of it that I wanted to overcome it. So I started off with parasailing, and I did, which, very, very high, right? Bungee jumping, I've done that. I've done rock climbing, and I've jumped out of a plane. Went skydiving, but the first time that I went skydiving, it was one of the most it was one of the most paralyzing things that I have ever experienced in my life. It took every ounce of strength to jump out of that plane.
So who jumped, you or the guy you were jumping with?
It was more so the guy I was jumping with.
Come on, Chris.
He was strapped to me.
Yeah, because you have to clip in, right?
Yep, it's a tandem is what it's called. Uh-huh. And I didn't resist him, but he sort of waddled me over to the edge. And you know what the weirdest part is when you're up and you're flying at X amount of miles an hour, you don't really realize how fast you're going because the clouds are moving real slow. Right. So the guys in front of me, they fell super fast, and then they went super far back. So literally they went like this. They were like, whoosh, and they were just gone. Right. And when they jumped out in front of me, I was like, ooh, I was like wanting to throw up.
Because it was so fast.
Oh, it was just an unbelievable thing. And the idea of you having a solid ground to jump into nothingness, I'm telling you, it was so paralyzing. And I started screaming, and the guy's like, you okay? You okay? I'm like, okay, just go. And he rocks me out. And he goes, one. And when he rocked me the first time, my face went out into the wind.
Ooh.
So he's like, one, whoosh, two, whoosh, three. And then finally, once you jump, then I was okay. Because I was like, oh, this is kind of nice,
Peaceful.
And I felt confident. But yeah, it was a huge overcoming milestone for me because, and then by the way, I did it twice after that.
Well, you have a ton of people that have so much anxiety just hearing that story right now.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So you overcame that. It's something you're proud of.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, the second 2 times were out of fun, but the first time was because I had to overcome it.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I think along those lines, in college, I got myself kicked out of college twice. And then I was kind of frustrated with my movement and where I was engaged in ministry and stuff. And so I just left for a few years. And then I felt like God was pulling me back. And
You left, meaning you dropped out of ministry?
I dropped out of Bible college. I dropped out of, So I was still attending in church, but I wasn't preparing for ministry at all. Between my junior and senior year, it was almost 4 years in between those times. So because I switched schools, how credits don't transfer, all that kind of stuff, I crammed a 4-year degree into 6 years.
Wow.
But then I had to spread it over 8.5 years to get it all done.
Because of your break.
Yeah, because I took that break. And so I think finishing, finally, when I decided, you know what, I should go back and finish what I started. So I was 27 when I graduated from college. But that was kind of a big thing for me to go back and finish what I started because I'd caused my own problem. At the beginning, I wanted to blame other people. But I'd caused my own problems. And so to come back and overcome the problems I'd caused was a big part. There's a big achievement in my life, I think.
So I've known you for how many years?
I don't know. Too long. Forever. 19 years.
Yeah, 19 years?
Yeah.
That is the first time I realized that you actually took a break between your junior and senior year of actual years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I knew about I knew about everything else except for the fact of the time frame.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you
I was married and had 2 kids when I graduated from college.
I did not know that you were 27 when you graduated college.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So I think the thing was I didn't give up, right? And so I was proud of that.
Wow.
Which was weird because I've told you before, coming out of high school, I was like the wonder kid. Opportunities, people already talking about hiring me, all that kind of stuff. Everything I did worked. Right. And then I kind of blew my own life up. Not in horrible ways, but just dumb stuff. And then
fun.
Yeah. And then I got resentful of where I was coming from and couldn't figure out what I wanted to be or do. And then, God got a hold of my heart and pulled me back in. I finished up my senior year. At that point, it's hard. You got a pregnant wife with baby number 2. Baby number 1 is growing like a weed. I'm taking 22 credits both semesters of my senior year. Oof. And working that's a big load. Working 40, 50 hours a week and then volunteering in my church on Sundays.
Yeah.
And so it was a pretty brutal life that year. So to have finished that was a big achievement. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's all the time we have.
Okay.
I was gonna mention other ones.
Give another one. Go for
it's
it.
Already.
Hey, we're reading Proverbs today, so they're little slogans.
Okay, so how about this one? On a more significant level, for the very first time in my career as a pastor, I organized and executed a 5K for the benefit of somebody around the world.
Yeah.
So part of an organization that rescues children from sex trafficking. We actually were able to get 400 and something runners involved in raising money. And we raised $140,000.
Wow.
Benefiting people around the world. And you know what? That was a really cool, by the way, it was a lot of work.
It's for an organization called Transform One.
Transform One, yeah. And it was a lot of work. But when you give selflessly to people that I've met several of them, but to people you don't meet around the world, it feels really great, So it was a big accomplishment.
And we know the founder of that ministry and the people leading in that ministry very well.
Yes, very
trustworthy. Where can our listeners get information about Transform One?
Transform1.org. So it's transform then the number 1.org. And
transform. And then the number 1.org.
Yeah. You know what? I would love, there's this thing that we came up with during the race. I wore a cape. And it was really fun, because I like superheroes. Right. But it's a hero thing where you're like, hey, be a hero to a child, go online and do a monthly sponsorship. So there's different amounts and all that kind of stuff. But, that would be the invitation.
Well, God says to speak up for those and intervene for and work on behalf of those who can't defend themselves. And so that honors God, man. Good job. That's really great. You know what else is really great?
worst transition ever. You know what else is great?
So Solomon gives
any passage anywhere.
Solomon gives some really great advice here in Proverbs chapter 27. So remember, Hezekiah was digging through the temple, and he finds these other writings of Solomon, and he wants to be a good king, and so this is a big deal. And so this is Proverbs 25 through 29 are all the writings of Solomon that King Hezekiah found.
Hey, you know what else is great? The Bible.
The Bible is great.
That's great.
So here you go. In 27, verse 1, it says, "Don't brag about tomorrow, since you don't know what the day will bring." And then very appropriate to the segment for today, it says, "Let someone else praise you, not your own mouth, a stranger, not your own lips."
Literally, the segment said, what is something you're proud of?
You're proud of. Yep.
That's so funny.
Let someone else praise you. Yeah.
That's great.
"A stone is heavy and sand is weighty, but the resentment caused by a fool is even heavier. Anger is cruel and wrath is like a flood, but jealousy is even more dangerous. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. Wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. A person who is full refuses honey, but even bitter food tastes sweet to the hungry. A person who strays from home is like a bird that strays from its nest. The heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. Never abandon a friend, either yours or your father's. When disaster strikes, you won't have to ask your brother for assistance. It's better to go to a neighbor than to a brother who lives far away. Be wise, my child, and make your heart glad. Make my heart glad. Then I will be able to answer my critics. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. Get security from someone who guarantees a stranger's debt. Get a deposit if he does it for foreigners. A loud and cheerful greeting early in the morning will be taken as a curse. Oh, here we go again. A quarrelsome wife is as annoying as constant dripping on a rainy day.
Wow.
Stopping her complaints is like trying to stop the wind or trying to hold something with greased hands.
Bro, that is unbelievable.
Solomon, man, he lets you know where his problems are, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's every couple chapters.
And by the way, both of those things are incredible word pictures, right?
Stopping her complaints is like trying to stop the wind.
That's unbelievable.
Because you and we have no idea what that means.
No,
we can't fathom that experience.
What a strange concept.
Verse 17: as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Hey, that's you and me, buddy.
Hey, man, we're that's right.
There you go.
And we have good nuggets in here, don't we?
It takes a lot of friction to sharpen iron.
That's right. That's right. There's sparks everywhere.
Spark. As workers who tend a fig tree are allowed to eat the fruit, so workers who protect their employers' interests will be rewarded. As a face is reflected in water, so the heart reflects the real person. Just as death and destruction are never satisfied, so human desire is never satisfied. Fire tests the purity of silver and gold, but a person is tested by being praised. Wow. You cannot separate fools from their foolishness, even though you grind them like grain with mortar and pestle. Whew. Know the state of your flocks and put your heart into caring for your herds, for riches don't last forever, and the crown might not be passed to the next generation. After the hay is harvested and the new crop appears and the mountain grasses are gathered in, your sheep will provide wool for clothing, and your goats will provide the price of a field, and you will have enough goat's milk for yourself and your family and your servant girls.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that I don't think I've ever done before.
Do it.
I'm going to say to our listeners that, it would be a really great exercise. Wouldn't it be great if everybody who's listening or watching on YouTube, if they could rewind it to the beginning of when you started reading this Proverbs chapter, what was it?
27.
27:1, and you read 27 verses.
Yes.
Here's a good challenge. Wouldn't this be cool? Go back and listen and pray. Just say a quick prayer and say, God, let me hear what you need me to hear. Which of these verses will stand out and apply to your life where you're at right now? Because even the single verse that says iron sharpens iron, well, I mean, that's a whole sermon, isn't it?
Right.
Right? Talking about, do you have a friend in your life?
That's right.
Every single one of these in here are just an unbelievable, thing here. It's just an unbelievable thing. There's so many great segments in here. Listen, just as death and destruction are never satisfied, so the human heart is never satisfied.
Right.
That could be somebody, right? That could be somebody.
Yeah.
So just go through it and just ask yourself, like, okay, God, what verse do you want me to hear? So I encourage everybody to do that. Go back and do it. And then say, okay, God, this is the one that stood out to me. Because I'm telling you, when we pray that way and we say, God, speak to me, God will use some of these to jump out of the page. And you'll be like, wow. This one right here, that stands out to me. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. You may be mad at somebody for saying something you don't want them to say, but maybe God wants to speak to your heart and say, you know what? They're only trying, they're saying that because they love me. Right. They're saying that because that is a real friend, right?
Right.
And then the next verse says, wounds of a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. Well, an enemy is going to tell you what you want to hear. An enemy, not necessarily an enemy of your soul that wants to harm you or kill you intentionally, but a person who's unwilling to tell you the truth. Solomon is saying they're almost like an enemy because they're not being a true friend.
Yeah, they're fake.
They're fake, right? They're not a true friend,
right?
Because a true friend's going to say, "Hey, you have something on your face, right? Your zipper's down, right?" And you're like, wow, I can't believe you said that to them. Well, that's what a true friend says, right?
Right.
So, yeah, go back and watch it. I think that'd be a really good exercise.
It's great. We love the Life Application Study Bible.
Yep.
And we don't get any money from Tyndale, who publishes that. But you should get one. Honestly, you should get one. It helps so much. And, you read, those are a lot of words, but they're one-liners. And so after a while, you can just start saying one more one-liner and not even thinking about it. So sometimes getting back in and looking at the notes really helps. And we laughed a lot about verses 15 and 16. The quarrelsome wife is as annoying.
Oh, right? So funny.
By the way, I just want to check. Is that why you wanted everybody to go back and re-listen to it one more time? I'm hoping that maybe...
Yeah, I'm hoping all the wives...
Go back and just...
will say, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help all the men.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, that's right. I think yesterday it said, don't say you're making a joke.
Right. I'm a fortified city. Unfortified.
Yeah, that's right. So, but the note for the Life Application Study Bible applies to all of us, not just wives.
Yep.
It says, quarrelsome nagging, a steady stream of unwanted advice, is a form of torture.
Yes.
And that's the Solomon's thing. Oh, it just drives me nuts.
So like dripping rain.
Right. People nag because they think they're not getting through, but nagging hinders communication more than it helps. When tempted to engage in this destructive habit, stop and examine your motives. Are you more concerned about yourself getting your way and being right than about the person you're pretending to help? If you are truly concerned about other people, think of a more effective way to get through to them. Surprise them with words of patience and love and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not just a women thing or whatever, So Solomon is just speaking from his experience.
Yeah.
He had 1,000 wives.
Yeah.
Right. And so, from him, he's just speaking of his experience. But the reality is that constant nagging, it is not just a female thing. It's a male thing, too. Just drip, 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 drip.
That reminds me of the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, John Candy and Steve Martin in the hotel.
Yeah.
When he says, you're like a chatty Cathy doll with a string, but nobody pulls it except for you. Ma, 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 ma. He says, right?
Yeah, it's so the great. Truth.
Yeah.
Yep.
He pulls his own string. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so great.
Such a good one.
Yeah. A person who is full refuses honey, but even bitter words taste sweet to the hungry. Mm-hmm. That's a third verse connected to those first two thoughts, right?
Yeah.
God, it's just so good. Yeah.
And then I love verse 23 and 24. This is a verse probably of the hundreds of Proverbs that I quote on a regular basis. This one is at the top of my list with regard to leadership and responsibility. Know the state of your flocks and put your heart into caring for your herds, because riches don't last forever. The crown might not be passed to the next generation. And so he says, instead, if you're paying attention to your flocks, you're paying attention to your herds, you're paying attention to your crops, after the hay is harvested and the new crop appears and mountain grasses are gathered in, your sheep are going to provide wool for clothing. Your goats provide for the price of a field. You'll have enough goat's milk for yourself and your family and your servant girls. He's saying, listen, if you pay close attention to the state of your flocks, if you're paying close attention, you're putting your heart into caring for your herds, then you can have confidence that at harvest time, there's going to be plenty. And, the hay, when the hay is harvested and new crop appears, he says that's when your sheep will be ready to be sheared as well, and you'll have plenty of clothing, and your goats will provide enough for a price of a field. When everybody else is having to sell, you'll be ready to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And you'll be able to get a discount. The worst time to buy a field to plant in is in spring. The best time to buy is after the harvest, when that owner is thinking, man, I might not make it to next year. I probably should sell my field, right? You're going to get a good deal. So what he's saying is, if you're paying close attention, you're putting your heart into caring for your wealth. You're putting your heart into you're knowing the state of your business, all those kinds of things. It's not just about money. It's about leadership. Then you can have confidence that if you're paying close attention, it's not micromanaging. You're just paying close attention. Then when the time comes to harvest, you'll have plenty. When the time comes to seize the moment, you'll be ready. And that I think I mentioned it last week too, but I think it was Mark Twain that said, it's amazing how lucky I get the more prepared I am. Right. So if you know the state of if you know your situation, know your financial situation. I was just in a conversation with somebody talking about finances and preparing. We're getting ready to do a financial freedom summit.
Yeah.
And so as we were planning that, one of the guys was talking, he's a financial advisor, a professional financial advisor, very, very successful. And he said, it's astounding how many widows don't have the bank passwords.
Oh, wow. Talk about being unprepared.
Right. That don't have, how many widows and widowers don't have their spouse's passwords on their phones? They can't get all the photos. Wow. Half the family photos, right? They don't know where to get the next thing, right? It wasn't planned out. So there's wealth out there. They can't get it. The management of the life. And so just paying attention, we sometimes in the most important areas, we get lax, and then we leave our family struggling. Or those times where I've had times where there was an investment for years. I've enjoyed learning how to trade, not trade, invest. Particularly with global currencies, is just a goofy hobby. So where my wife might be playing a game on her phone at night, for a long time, I was trading on fake trading accounts. They were free accounts that I wasn't trading real money, but I was trading on the real market, right?
Right.
And just learn how to do that. And I would see things and I'd be like, boy, if I had $1,000, I bet you I could make a lot of money. And time after time after time after time, I would double or triple or quadruple the fake money investment. Yeah. But I wouldn't pull the trigger. I wouldn't actually put the money in. And then I'd look back and go, I wish I'd done something about that, right? And it was because I didn't have the margin financially. So my own personal finances, I knew how to get it. My own personal finances weren't in a place where I had the margin to be able to execute on it. So when that field came up for sale, I couldn't get it.
Right.
And I look back at that. I look back at so many opportunities that were missed because I wasn't as diligent at the time. And I'm trying now here, trying to be a real grown up in my 50s. I'm trying to get more and more diligent with those things. And I'm seeing an opportunity to seize the opportunities I couldn't seize a couple of years ago because I didn't build in the margin. So if you know the state of your flocks, if you're being diligent with your business, there's no guarantee that things are going to be good tomorrow. That's what it says. The crown might not pass the next generation. But if you are diligent with your stuff, you'll have opportunities to expand more, and you'll have plenty. And not only you, but your family and even your servant girls.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that passage. It's one of my favorite passages Solomon writes about. There's so much in that one.
Yeah. My dad is still with us, and he's 80. He's born in 39, so 86 this year.
Wow.
Right? And he has a folder, an actual physical folder, not on phones or computers, right? But it's in his filing cabinet, and I remember seeing it for 20 years at least. And it's titled "When I Die."
Oh,
and it's this thick.
Wow.
And it's everything everybody will ever need to know.
Wow.
So talk about being prepared.
Very diligent.
Very diligent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is the opposite of most.
Right. Correct. So, hey, that is our time. So hopefully we will see you next time on the Bible Guys.